Yeah.
This
It's all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
You gotta work. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome to another edition of Lembitopic Live here on unprecedented.tv. And thank you so much for increasing patronage. I mean that in a bad way. I'm very grateful that you're watching us on X, on YouTube, and soon on Rumble and on other outlets too. Our mission is to tell you the truth as best we can establish it and invite your feedback too. If we get it wrong, we want to hear from you about how we can get it right. And also we have such a great stable of new programs coming up. I won't get into those now, but you'll see the adverts for those soon. And we're about to have a regular schedule, so you can find your favorite shows, hopefully mine, but also the other ones too, according to what we advertise and what we promote. If you want to advertise on our show as well, or indeed on the station as a whole, then please let us know. You can get in touch in many different ways. We're going to discuss something which has not just annoyed, but provoked and potentially, to be serious about this, killed a number of people in the United Kingdom and across the world. You may have remembered the strange behavior of politicians during the lockdown. I say that with a certain pause because it didn't seem to affect politicians. I am, of course, referring to the total scam, in my view, of the COVID pandemic. A pandemic where we had Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister at the time, telling us to stay at home, we've got to save lives. And yet we discover he had parties in Downing Street. Of course, the other major politicians were not immune either. They seem to be immune to COVID, but not immune to breaking the rules. Rishi Sunak, who also had to pay a fine for this, became Prime Minister. And Keir Starmer was filmed in the north of England having some kind of a shenanigans with Claire Rayner, who, I'm sorry, that's not the person I'm talking about, Angela Rayner. I always mix those two up simply because Claire Rayner was to some extent clairvoyant in helping people, and Angela Rayner was the opposite. But anyway, Angela Rayner and also Keir Starmer were observed through a window having drinks, and he couldn't remember having done it. Now, somebody who's been on the line all the time, on the ball all the time, is my guest tonight. And this is Debbie Evans, who I think has never actually been knowing the undersold and telling the truth. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Even at this late hour.
Well, it depends what time you're watching it, because we film this live and then we record it and then we put it out as live. So it could be morning, noon, or light.
Or night.
Yes. Anyway, tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, so Lembit, I mean, you know, I never expected to find myself in this position talking to people. I'm a gobby granny, but I'm also a retired nurse and I'm old school, right? So basic nursing care is what I specialize in. Tender loving care, do no harm. So when all of this COVID or convid, as I call it, agenda started, things didn't feel right to me at all. And I started to speak up and I found myself behind a camera and research. I love to join dots. So I wanted to know the truth and I don't have any skin in the game. And I just want to put the news out there as I'm seeing it and let other people join the dots. So I'm kind of like a signpost, I guess, for what's going on. A barometer.
And what is going on in your view?
Well, I mean, for starters, it's how is the UK being perceived at the moment by the world, the rest of the world? And I was quite shocked because, when you go to another country, say, for example, Mexico, there's always travel advice from the Foreign Office, do this, do that, or don't do this, don't do that, or be careful of this, or, the Foreign Office or who the consulate are warning of. You don't know what's being said about your country, right? It's really weird. So I saw this report that said that France, Mexico, of all places, Canada, and the USA, I found, were putting out guidance to their population to say, be careful about coming to the UK. This is a high risk country. And I'm like, obviously we all know what's going on in the news at the moment, and we've seen the unrest and the protests and the arrests from police and two-tier policing and all the rest of it, and the small boats and the amount of immigration and migrants. But I'd never really sat down and thought, well, how are other countries seeing us? And I was shocked because they are warning their populations, and like Mexico City, Mexico, they're warning their populations not to come to the UK. And if they do, to exercise caution because of terrorism, because of protests, because of assaults, because of knife crime, because of phone grabbing. I mean, we've got purple lines on Oxford Street now. Purple lines, so that this is a Curry's initiative, where so many phones are being grabbed that people are being warned, don't go to London, don't go to the cities, you could be attacked. And I find it quite shocking. I don't know about you, but I just like, wow, we are living in very dangerous times.
It seems to me, although this is a digression a little bit, it seems to me amazing that the visitors are essentially being accused of being careless. I've had 2 phones stolen in central London within 6 months. One of them infamously in front of Charing Cross police station, which made it easy to report the crime, but they made it quite clear they had no intention of investigating it. So we live now in a society where I would not possibly advise my international friends to come to the UK, and not for a holiday, not in London anyway. But the problem we've got here, you can see the actual thing on the road there. It's just terrible. Mind the grab. Mind the grab. It's awful. It's absolutely shocking. So we live in a dire circumstance. And let's get back to this point that you made before, Debbie. I naively took the injections into my arm. I had COVID, or what I would like to call flu. I didn't feel too good, and then I recovered. The miracle of genetics, the miracle of evolution is once you've had something, you tend to be immune to it afterwards. That's how nature works. And they forced me to take more injections. I was traveling a lot at the time, I often do. And I didn't think they would do me any harm. More fool me, Debbie. And the 3rd injection absolutely wrecked me. And for years afterwards, I suffered, maybe, I don't want to tempt fate, but maybe I've overcome it now. But I have to tell you, it actually harmed me for about 4 years. Debbie, how did we get here?
Oh, Lembit, the whole thing about the injections, the vaccines, they're always going to be front and foremost of my mind, and those who are vaccine injured and also vaccine bereaved, we must never ever forget what went on, because as I'm looking back, I am absolutely shocked at what I'm finding at the brass neck of the same mob, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a mob of people who organised the rollout of these injections. They must not get away with this. We must never forget who they are. And some of them, have slithered away they've just kind of gone out of focus. I mean, we all remember seeing Professor Jonathan Van Tam with his football cards and his analogies, and, you know, he slithered off to Moderna. We remember Dame June Rain, don't we, who's just received the Galian Lifetime Award, don't you know? She happens to be on the committee who chooses who gets it. But there she is in her sparkly blue, accepting, overwhelmed because she's got this award. So a few of them are slithering away, but some of them are still very much centre players in all of this. And somebody that I have been looking at in great detail is Dame now, Kate Bingham, who was the head of the vaccine task force. Remember, the venture capitalist that jumped in, jolly hockey sticks and all of that, jumped in and decided that she was going to roll out the jab to all of you, all of us first.
Let's watch her now.
Mm.
Can we hear her as well? Do you have the volume? Okay, we're just looking at her at the moment, but I'm sure we've got the sound as well. We'll come back to that in a moment.
The vaccine task force
Here
was
we are.
actually going to be failure, because if you think about all the things that were counting against us, we'd failed to develop vaccines for SARS and MERS over the last 10 years. We had the leading vaccine candidates, the mRNA and adeno, had never been approved for any product ever, and the quickest vaccine that had ever been developed before took 5 years, and that was 50 years ago when regulatory standards were much lower, so that was mumps. So the likelihood was this was going to fail, but the reason it didn't fail was, I think, in part, I think it was a bit serendipitous, but the reason was in part because they chose a venture capitalist to actually lead it, because especially when you're in my business, things fail. They almost everything goes wrong, and because I've been in the business now a long time, I have seen science fail. I've been sued on IP. I've seen businesses blow up. I've seen clinical trials fail. I've run out of money. I've hired the wrong people. All of the things that either you are likely to expect or that you should make sure you don't make that mistake twice, I've seen. And that is incredibly helpful because it brings a very, very focused mindset.
She's a failure.
Complete failure. I mean,
she just admitted it. Sorry, go on.
No, I know. And when I watched it, you know, this woman, she is loose lips, sink ships. She's very, very keen to give away lots and lots of information. And I'm not sure she's aware that people are watching her in horror, because, you know, if that was somebody coming to me to lead a vaccine task force, not that I would ever want anybody to lead a vaccine task force, but if I had the choice, would I choose somebody that had chosen the wrong people, seen science fail, seen clinical trials fail, lost money? I mean, seriously. And I can't imagine how it must feel for those who are vaccine injured to watch people like this, because not only did she say that, but there's another bit of video, I believe, that says what she thinks about clinical trials. And did safety ever figure in clinical trials, ever? I mean, have a listen to the video.
60% of patients did respond, and that was the principle that underlay the thinking.
That's Alison Cave. I can come on to talk about Alison Cave.
Well, we'll talk about her in a minute, but basically we'll see if we can get the clinical trials video.
That's it.
Here we are. We still can't hear it.
Ready in place so that as soon as we have approval from the MHRA, we'll be able to start deploying them, or have them to help deploy. And we've done that because we've been able to accelerate the development of the clinical trials, not in terms of safety, but in terms of how can we get the trials enrolled. So we've done, for the very first time, a national citizen registry, which has been created on the NHS website. And as of this morning, we have 305,000 people who've registered their interest in getting involved in clinical trials. So to all those people, I'd like to say thank you, but that is a phenomenal resource, and in fact is being used as we speak to enroll in clinical trials, including in prophylactic clinical trials with the AZ antibody. We've also put in place standardised immune assays so that we can compare assays head-to-head, or the vaccines head-to-head. And we've also created, again, a world first, a human challenge model for COVID vaccines. So subject to final ethics approvals and all sorts of things have to work, we should be in a position to be able to start evaluating new vaccines in a much more streamlined, rapid way next year, which again will accelerate the development of the next wave of vaccines.
Debbie.
What can I say? What
How can that be
can
the
I
same
say?
person? How can that be the same person?
No, honestly,
Sorry.
seriously, I seriously, I've been watching, and you know what? There's tons more. There's tons more of this stuff, but this is the way that these people speak. You know, not only is she saying, oh no, safety was never included in the clinical trials, what she's actually saying is, oh, well, thanks to 305,000 people who have just registered to jump on this experiment, because let's not forget, a clinical trial is an experiment. So they're jumping on this experiment. What happened to them? Where are they? What is this National Citizens Registry? How did they fare? Did they know that they were going on a clinical trial where there was no safety consideration at all? Seriously?
Well, I'm completely with you on this. What is weird is you don't think you're talking to the same person or listening to the same person.
No.
On the one hand, she says, oh, well, you know, we do all the right things. The other hand, she says, I completely failed at my job. Imagine if she was an aircraft pilot. Imagine if she said, well, okay, yeah, well, I can fly the plane. Well, actually, I crashed. I wasn't any good. This is the crazy thing, Debbie. It's almost like they think we don't remember. There are people in prison at the moment for hurty words on the internet, which they subsequently regretted. Lucy Connolly is the person I'm thinking of. This woman was arguably, and I say this as a vaccine victim myself, arguably responsible for people like me having massive health problems, potentially life-threatening health problems, because of their stupid advice.
Oh, worse than that, Lembit, worse than that, because there is another video clip, and I'll maybe send it to you, where she is absolutely saying, it was because of me. It was because of me, Kate Bingham, that we vaccinated our population in the United Kingdom first. It was because of me. And I'm so jolly hockey stick happy about it. I want that on my epitaph. That's what she said. And she said, actually, and these were her words, she said that, you know, it was all done rather ADHD. Excuse me, Kate? Excuse me? It was all rather done ADHD, her words, quickly. No consideration for any kind of safety or efficacy for that matter. And she's written a book, and she's even freer with her information in the book. And I look at these people and I think, oh, wow, this is somebody that she's saying she's responsible for vaccinating the whole of the UK. Perhaps you'd all like to write to her, because she's very proud of it, but she doesn't seem to understand that people like you, Lembit, are watching. And I dread to think how you must be feeling, because I know how I'm feeling.
I resent her massively because she's bragging about wrecking my health for about 4 or 5 years. She's bragging about the fact they didn't do the checks properly. Let's remember this phrase, safe and effective. I think that was the phrase, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't safe. It wasn't effective. I had the stupid bad flu. I had it. I didn't feel good for 2 weeks. It was really bad. Whether it came from Wuhan or somewhere else, I don't know. But I know I was ill. My kids had it. Neither of them had the slightest symptoms. And we all got through it. The miracle of nature is immunity. Our bodies are smart enough to find some way to get through it. The thing that really hurt me, I can tell you, Debbie, was that third vaccine. I was stupid enough to have 3. I'm never going to do that ever again. And I advise all viewers to never say yes to an untried vaccine. Safe and effective. Unbelievable.
Wasn't even a vaccine. Wasn't even a vaccine.
How many of these people actually had it? Did Ursula von der Leyen, with a massive vested interest, on account of her familial contact with somebody who was pretty much making a fortune out of vaccines. Did she take the vaccine? I want to know. I want to know if Boris Johnson took the vaccine. I want to know if all of these people actually took the vaccine. Boris Johnson was mysteriously ill for about 2 or 3 days and then made a remarkable recovery. If he could do it with his portly state, why couldn't the rest of us? And I have to say, Debbie, okay, I'm going off on one now. I do not respect the state. I do not respect the World Health Organization. I think it should be shut down. I do not respect the fact that the World Health Organization wants to have the right to physically pin you down to have an injection in your arm.
No, and these were never vaccines. We know that they were gene therapies. And the whole vaccine needle, it's syringe and needle, you know, they're changing all of that. It's like vaccination on your tongue, dermal through your skin. It's going to be needleless vaccination, perhaps vaccination through lettuce, maybe through tomatoes. I mean, all of these things have been talked about. And when I look back at these people that were responsible for all of this, it's not just Dame Kate Bingham, although she is huge in this, and more to come on Dame Kate Bingham. Really, I mean, for example, just a quick thing before I get on to Alison Cave, because she's my next target. Dame Kate Bingham, believe it or not, founded a company with a chap called Clive Dix, D-I-X, I should say, and they sold it to Pfizer. And what were they developing? DNA, RNA, vaccines for flu and cancer. This was all being planned years and years before. In fact, Kate Bingham was with the crowd in 2014, 2013, Andrew Pollard, Mark Walport, Sir John Bell, and Wellcome, all the usual names. So it's kind of like that they were in the wings waiting for all of these posts. They were promised. Oh, well, Kate Bingham is a biochemist. However, she's into venture capitalism, and that's where she's settled. But it's just lucky, isn't it, that at the time that she gets appointed by her mate, Patrick Vallance, that her husband happens to be minister in the Treasury, doling out the cash.
What a coincidence!
Isn't it, Jesse Norman?
This is amazing.
I know.
Let's have a look at my team is enraged by this, which is why they played a bit of this before. Let's have a look at the cave. Just watch this.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, we can cut this part out. Don't worry.
Do you want me to talk about Alison Kay first?
Yes, I want to, but let's just think about the link here. We're just going to cut this part out.
Okay.
Right.
So,
no. Let's just do that part. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to do that again so we can easily. No. Hold on, Charlotte. Right. So go back to the same screen we had before. Let's watch this.
And actually have reported them are then likely to be willing to sign up and help us in terms of understanding the mechanism. So that is a primary principle of the Yellow Card Biobank, but we always recognise that we would need other routes. I think there is.
Not sure what happened there, but maybe she silenced herself.
Well, I wish she would, but actually what she did do there, Lembit, was she was talking about, but you have to bear in mind that whenever you put, and I don't know if you've done it yourself, but anybody that puts a yellow card into the MHRA, whether it be the patient or whether it be the clinician, nobody's hearing anything back from the MHRA. It just goes completely stone cold.
Remind us what the MHRA stands for.
So the Medicines Health Regulatory and Products Agency. So this is the regulator for all of the medicines. So Dame June Rain was CEO of the MHRA during the pandemic.
Doesn't seem to be enough letters there for what you said, but okay, carry on.
Yeah, no, there aren't. In fairness, the full title is Products Agency, but they just abbreviate it to MHRA. So June Rain was with the MHRA. She was CEO of the MHRA at the time, and everybody that was submitting a yellow card, everyone literally was saying, we're not hearing anything back. Why aren't the MHRA contacting us? We are reporting that we have had a serious adverse reaction. What now? And everybody was just left stranded and nobody was contacted. However, now it seems different because the MHRA are very keen to get into contact with you. They want to talk to you because they want to find out what your adverse reactions are, what your illness is, so that they can put you on a clinical trial. And they can now try a new novel experimental drug on you. So this is problem, solution, reaction. It's the whole, we're going to create the problem. We're going to then provide you with, we're going to watch for the reaction, and then we're going to provide you with a solution in the form of a clinical trial. Now, I don't know about you, Lambert, but in my day, I remember students going on clinical trials. They were paid about £4,000. Normally, they were in universities. They were trying to subsidise their student grant, and they went on a clinical trial. Some of them went horribly wrong.
Some of them died.
Some of them died. Some of them literally exploded and blew up. I mean, it was the swelling that some of them had. That with the swelling, if you remember, I think there was a clinical trial back in the 80s with 4 students. And I actually spoke to somebody that was part of that clinical trial. And they were very, very sick. It made wall-to-wall headlines at the time. I'll send you a link for it so that you can include it. But that's what clinical trials were about. But if we look back into World War II and we talk about Mengele, and then you talk about experiments, and everybody goes, oh, you know, that's absolutely shocking, and it was abominable, and it was torturous. However, we've just changed the language now. Clinical trials are experiments. It's just that we don't call them experiments. We call them clinical trials, and we are now offering them to people as a way of giving you an answer or a cure by literally testing. And in the UK, we have become a global life sciences laboratory for all of these biologics, especially cancer vaccines and mRNA products. So that's the way that it's going. We're just routing now serious adverse victims and vaccine injured and anybody that's had a serious adverse reaction on any drug, we're going to stick them on a clinical trial.
Well, I'm a victim of a clinical trial because I didn't think that there was anything wrong with taking these vaccines. I thought they were pointless, utterly pointless, Debbie. But I had to travel a lot, so I needed the certificate to prove that I'd taken the vaccine. And as a result of the third one, I went mental. I was actually on the train into London Waterloo Station, and I called my friend and I said, I'm in trouble. I'm surrounded by yellow people. And she didn't understand what I meant. And I said, I can't do anything. I'm going to be attacked by yellow people. And she said, put on the camera. And it was kids in yellow vests. And she said, they're just children. I said, no, they're aliens. And then I got off the train and we realized that I'd gone a little bit mental. I'd actually had some sort of a hallucination because the day before I'd had this stupid vaccine. And then that was the funny part. The unfunny part was I had major health issues, which I won't go into, but they really have affected me quite seriously for 4 years. And that's because of the vaccine, not the disease, the vaccine, Debbie.
Yeah. And Lambert, this is why I am still talking about the vaccine injured. I'm still talking about the vaccine bereaved. I'm still trying to get people to help out with UKCV family and to donate, because the vaccine injured, there are thousands and thousands and thousands. We don't know how many people now are vaccine injured, too many to count. And many of them are stranded. They've lost their homes, they've lost their families, they've lost everything. They've lost literally everything, and they've been completely abandoned. They've been abandoned by the state. They've been abandoned by the very people that they were told to trust: the Kate Binghams, the Alison Caves, the June Rains, the Chris Whitties, the Jonathan Van Tams. I am as angry, and I didn't have any injections. I didn't, and I feel so fortunate and humbled that I didn't. But at the same time, during the whole campaign, we were censored from telling everybody what we were feeling, and now it's us, the refuseniks, as we were called back then. It's us that we stand in solidarity with the vaccine injured. We are, as it's our relatives, our friends, our loved ones who have been affected, and that's why we, the unvaccinated, as we're called by the press, refuseniks, that's why we stand in solidarity, and we must not let this be forgotten. And you know, we're still to this day, we're injecting pregnant women. We're injecting pregnant women with with so many things. I think they have about 6 injections now. And it's not that long ago that there was thalidomide. Thalidomide, we mustn't forget it, but people have. And nobody more importantly than June Rain, the CEO of the MHRA, who should know better. She should know better, because she, along with Sir Alistair Breckenridge, they started the yellow card scheme. She was the one that gave a lecture about thalidomide, and yet she, Dame June Rain, a mother, a grandmother, my age, a little bit older than me, she should know better, and yet she approved and authorized the rollout of this gene therapy that has now injured and killed so many people. I mean, it mustn't be forgotten, Lembit. It must not be forgotten.
Well, we have been very grateful for your time tonight, this morning, today, depends where you're watching this. But what really matters to me more than anything else, that this story cannot be buried.
No.
Unlike so many other stories, which may not be very significant, the climate emergency, there isn't one. All this other stuff that goes on. This is killing people every day. And it seems to me, our question for you, I don't want to extend this too much, but it seems to me that the more vaccinations you have for COVID-19, the more likely you are to die. Is that right?
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part of the question there, Lembit.
The more vaccinations you have for COVID-19, the more likely you are to die. Is that right?
That's correct, I'm afraid. Yeah, that is the evidence, and that is what the experts are saying now. The more you have, the sicker you will become. And this mRNA is still being rolled out, and you have to remember that the USA are going to be testing their AI generated cancer mRNA vaccine on the United Kingdom population. This is Project Stargate. So we know that this is in
it's got a
motion.
name.
Yes, it has.
It's got a name.
Yes.
Project Stargate.
Yes.
Can you make sure our viewers understand exactly what you're saying on that?
Absolutely. Project Stargate, or the Stargate project, was launched by the Trump administration in conjunction with Sam Altman, Google, and Larry Ellison, Oracle. And the plan is to manufacture mRNA cancer vaccines using artificial intelligence within 48 hours of diagnosis. And these vaccines will be made, well, they were going to be made in Abilene in Texas, but I believe it may be downsized a little bit to Ohio. But then these injections these mRNA cancer vaccines are going to be tested on the United Kingdom NHS population, because the USA are waiting for the results. So there's plenty of video evidence. I've got it all, but we have essentially become a laboratory surrounded by water. We're a prison laboratory, if you like. The UK is life sciences.
I thought Robert F. Kennedy, who's in charge of health policy and in America, was against all this. And he seemed to have actually junked a lot of the expenditure on this. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And I think a lot of people had a lot of faith in RFK and also the Trump administration. For me personally, this is my personal opinion, I see them as false prophets. And they're certainly neither one of them are coming in to save us. They might be wanting to make America great again, but their intention is not to make the UK great again. They really don't have that. They don't have our best interests at heart. And you know, you have to ask yourself, this state visit with Trump and the King, what is that going to be doing? Are we looking at a super Commonwealth? Could we be? I'm not sure, but we've got a big trade deal with the USA, and the price of pharmaceuticals may be going down in America because they're doing all the manufacturing and testing them on us, but the prices are going to go sky high for the NHS.
Well, we say thank you to you, Debbie Evans. Please come back soon. And let me tell you this, I'm enraged by what I've heard just now. I'm a vaccination victim. I don't want to think of myself as a victim. Maybe a fool for trusting the government. Perhaps that's the most important thing, Debbie. Do you think I'm a fool or a victim?
No, Lembit, I think you did, as you believed people that were telling you that you were doing the right thing. And people say to me, oh, you know, oh, it was so stupid, blah, blah, blah. No, nobody's been stupid in this. Nobody has. I think a lot of people were put under a spell. I really do. I think there was a spell that was cast, and sadly, many people succumbed to that spell. But that the important thing I think is for the future is that we avoid all of these novel experimental drugs. And there are hundreds of them coming down the pipeline, Lembit. And this is what we've got to keep our eyes on. And it's not just vaccines, it's antimicrobials, it's monoclonal antibodies, it's the remdesivirs, it's the new biologics that are coming down the line. We need to keep an eye out and our ears to the ground and keep asking questions and listen to nobody but yourself. Go with your own gut instincts and you'll be fine.
You're an inspiration to me and also to our viewers. Thank you so much to you, Debbie Evans, and I hope that you're going to come back pretty soon. I'm also very grateful to the fact that you're watching this, because this is real truth. This is about warning you of the dangers of listening to people I listen to. And I paid the price health-wise. I also apologize to myself for being so naive that I believed politicians that I used to consider friends. I still do consider friends, actually. But they either lied to me or they lied to themselves, one or the other. Please tell me what you think about this. We'll get Debbie Evans back pretty soon. Maybe she'll have her own program as well. You've been watching the very important import of talking about the vaccine scam. That's what I would call it, here on Unprecedented TV. Our mission is to tell you the truth as we see it, express our opinions, but most importantly, give you a counterpoint to the mainstream media. We don't want to beat the mainstream media. We want to be the mainstream media. I'm Lembit Topik. This was Unprecedented TV. I'll see you soon.